righty. Perfect. All right, y'all. Good morning. Happy Thursday. We've almost made it. Almost made it to the weekend. Will's a first-time guest. First-time guest on the show.
Yeah.
I love having first-time guests.
Do you have a lot of repeat guests?
Yeah. I do have repeat guests. I think I've been doing this thing for 5 years now.
Really?
5 years.
That's awesome.
I started this when COVID hit because I was kind of your traditional heads down recruiter.
Mhm.
And I was very focused on just Nashville. So I only recruited Nashville
Right.
engineers. And then I saw when COVID hit that the whole entire landscape was about to shift to like fully global distributed remote teams. So I was like, I need to be out there and help devs at scale.
Mhm.
Just navigate the job search in their careers. And so I got LinkedIn Live super early, like when it was like you had to apply to be on it.
Right.
And I got it and I started to go live and 5 years later. So yes, after 5 years, you kind of have some repeat guests.
That's what to say. But
yes,
our community's giant, but it's also like the number of people who like are happy to jump on camera and stuff is
yes,
fairly
it's
small.
100%. So excited for Will. Y'all go connect with Will. Will, what's your X handle?
W King __.
Okay, yeah.
One of these days I'll kick off the underscores as soon as I, find the
W
person that
King
can kick off the other
__.
person.
Go
Yeah.
follow him. He's got a great profile picture. It's kind of wild looking, so you won't miss him. But before we dive in, as always, please comment, say hey, would love to hear from you again. I tell people this every time I go live. This is a virtual meetup. Show up in the comments, network with people. I tell people my whole goal really for Torque and really what we're building is I want y'all to network off the back of me, and then obviously Jason, Jason in here, so I tell people if you've like tuned into my show for 5 years and networked with everybody in the comments and you've shot every single guest an invite and said, hey, it was great to see you. You'd have a pretty expansive network at this point. So, but we're not in the metaverse yet. I don't know if you're watching unless you comment. So please say, hey, would love to hear from you. As we get people to kind of streaming in. First off, I want to give a shout out to AppRight. I'm probably the only non-technical hero on a technical program. Great software or great product, as far as I can tell, is what I've been told. So if you want to create an app pretty quickly, use their product. It's great. I love the DevRel team over there. Also, we have a lot going on within the Torque community. So go check out torque.community to check out all of our live streams. I know Jason went live with Francesco yesterday for an hour and a half talking about vibe coding, and they developed something. I don't know what it was, but they did something in vibe coding. So go check that out. And then also too, if you want to know when I go live with guests like Will and certain topics, please text me. This is actually my number. Text live and it'll immediately kind of like loop you into that texting thread, not texting thread, but just texting community. And so I will, you won't get lumped into like a bunch of people, but just text me. We'd love to have you a part of that community. So today's conversation, so I've been I've really been interested, and I've seen a lot of conversations around AI, obviously, but how it affects kind of juniors, right? And so Will graciously slid into my DMs or comment on my tweet. It was like, would love to talk about it. So let's go ahead and dive in. Will, let's give the people what they want. Who are you? What do you do?
All right.
And we'll go from there.
My name is Will King. I am a design engineer at Crunchy Data. Crunchy Data is just it's the best managed Postgres that you can find on the internet. We've got the smartest database and Postgres developers that I know. And I am just there to make sure that all of the normies can use the database as well. So
I love it.
That's what I do for my day job. Otherwise, I would just say like I am 2 years ago, I made this goal of like making more dope friends and doing more dope things with friends on the internet. And so I'd say like that is what motivates a lot of like what you'll see if you're following me on social. So build cool things, hang out with cool people, hence the shooting that message out to you because you are definitely in that category of dope people. So
appreciate it. We won't tell my wife that because she'll just roll her eyes. Speaking of wife,
neither one of our wives.
If you do follow Will, his wife will chime in, and the dynamic between the two is fantastic. So highly recommend. And then yeah, Will, talk about the Green Chairs podcasting. Talk about that. You got some interior design projects going on.
So we do a podcast. It started off with like just me. It was called Strong Opinions Weekly Held, and it was just like, oh, I'm just gonna like riff. I've got some buddies who do like solo podcasts where they just talk about like what they're building, what's on their mind.
Yeah.
I was like, feels like a good way to like, think through things publicly. And then one episode I had Allie on, and because it was like something to do with like our kids and all this kind of stuff, and we just had so much fun. She's hilarious. Like her love language is busting my balls.
I've never met her, but
Yeah.
based off her Twitter interaction, she's a gem.
Her like love language is busting my balls, and I am like not like, I'm just like the easiest person to make fun of. Like,
Sure,
I'm
same.
little
I mean, if
scatterbrained.
there's a target on our
like,
like it's a huge target for me.
yeah,
and
yeah.
you, it sounds
So
like.
so it's a fun dynamic. We did that once and have just started doing it ever since. And then we're like, why don't we just like really do this up? So I've like started setting up like a studio in our house.
I love it.
With like cool chairs.
Love it.
Let's do it. If we're gonna do it and have fun, let's have some like real fun with it. I'm all about like, if you enjoy something, go all in.
Yes.
So
yes. I love that. We got some people tuning in. Ricardo's good to see you. Emre, we're talking about no, not talking about Target, just targets on our backs with our wives making fun of us. Same thing.
Talking about Southern Wives, Target's probably going to come up at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously. All right. So let's dive in, man. There's a lot of, I guess, ways we can go about this, but can you just give a quick introduction about just who you are and kind of how you got into development, just to kind of set the stage?
So I had to teach myself development. I came from a design, like industrial design background, which if you aren't familiar, that's like physical products, like sketching, 3D models, like
CAD. Is CAD like a thing?
Yeah. My first job out of college was with a company who made like cherry picker, but like the bucket trucks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I did like the manufacturing modeling for all that.
Nice.
Which sounds dope. But like the company had been around for so long, all the parts had been made at some point. So you're just like putting the right pieces together. And it was like building Legos, but like Legos gets boring after a few months.
Yeah.
So I decided that I wanted to like be able to work remote, and I started getting into like development. And I taught myself how to develop and design for web, and then ended up getting a job with one of the companies that I had used to like learn development on.
Sure.
And worked there for about 7 years on their learning platform, and also being part of like the teaching like community for like the designers and the developers there. So like, I'd say that's probably like half my career. So like half my career was helping other people learn and like get into the junior position.
Yeah.
And then the rest of my career has just been building since then at like startups and stuff.
I love that. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Just some initial thoughts on how AI is affecting kind of the junior search. I mean, you had a lot of good thoughts when we were backstage. So let's bring those back up.
Let's see. I'd say like one of my like main thoughts with like AI is that like AI helps normalize the market on the lower end, which is like the barrier to entry. Like AI can help you grow. I think one problem that people can get into is thinking that like companies are not like, I'll phrase it like this: like AI code writing is non-deterministic, or is deterministic. Or non-deterministic. I think it's non-deterministic. Like it doesn't always like give you the same answer back, even if you gave it the exact same question.
Sure.
But software is like very deterministic, and I think companies lately have started to like realize that. So like, I think what people will get into trouble with AI is that it will become a crutch that they lean on, and that instead of it being like a crutch and relying it on to write your code, I think what developers need to be using it for is like fuel instead, like rocket fuel. So like instead of like leaning on AI code, you should be using like AI code to like level you up. Like it should be like focused internally.
Yep.
I talk about I was telling somebody about this where it's like, yeah, it's like don't be using agent mode, like be using mentor mode. Like use AI to teach you
Yeah.
more about
Yeah.
code.
Yeah.
So
How can folks like, so coming out of boot camp or whatever, I think the general
yeah.
sentiment is AI is taking junior jobs.
Mhm,
I think
mhm.
that's the general sentiment. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I have some thoughts on it.
And listen, the spicier the better, right?
All
So,
right.
yeah,
So
feel free to go a little unfiltered here. I'm all
yeah,
about
yeah.
it.
Well, listen, you can ask my wife. There's no such thing as a filter. She reminds me before we hang out with all of like people from like she teaches kindergarten, and she's like always remind like Will, remember like I'm a
Yeah,
teacher here.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, I think that is like not true.
Okay.
In some perspectives, because like I think that AI will definitely like make us more like level up our productivity
Yep.
um in certain ways, but and like make us be able to develop more, to try more. But I think it also like with other technologies it opens the market wider, because like
Yes.
there are now more people who can do more. And because like people can do more, there are going to be more companies, there are going to be more like people trying to achieve things. So like yes, there may not be like giant companies with tons of developers, but I think there will be a lot more companies with like a smaller subset of developers.
Yeah.
So it's
Right.
like fewer companies, but more like fewer giant companies, but more companies in total. So like there will
Yes.
still be tons of jobs.
Yep.
And the difference is that like um AI doesn't help you. This is like a one important thing where it's like AI can help you write code, but AI can't help you like solve your business problems.
Correct.
That's what people are for, you know?
Correct.
One thing that I thought about leading into this that like I think is important for people is that with like AI, like you can't always have AI to help you like communicate. Like you can communicate with AI and you can like help it write code, but at some point like you're going to have to be able to like talk to other people about like why you're solving something the way that
Yes.
you're solving it.
Yep.
um
Yep.
and like business owners like aren't going to understand that the technical like unless they're developers, but like the developer jobs aren't going away. And a developer part of a developer's job is like not writing code but communicating to the company like what code needs to be written and why it needs to be
Yep.
written.
Well,
uh and go ahead. No,
no,
I'll
and
take a
I think
breath.
that's great, and I think it's good that Will brought that up, because if you listen to my live stream with Ray, was it I think it was just yesterday. Ray's a founder of a platform, and she talked about, I need to know why you do things,
Mhm.
right? I need
Yeah,
you to
yeah,
bring
exactly.
specific business case studies, right? Just showing me a bunch of code and say we need to do this and not
Yeah.
have any reason behind it. Like AI is not going to replace that. And also too, I want to make a point here. I feel like the AI scare is an excuse to where just the job market is in general. Like the job market is not, I said this on a live the other day. I said we think of the job market like a crazy ex, right?
Mhm.
We've all dated, we all have exes, right? And I feel like a lot of times when things go south in a relationship, you hold, at least I have in my past,
Right, right.
you always hold on to what it was and not what it is, and
Yeah.
the actual situation. The actual situation is hiring was crazy during COVID, and it will never hit that again. So like get that out of your brain. We're now in the new normal, and I feel
Mhm.
like a lot of that previous notion is now being attached to AI taking people's jobs, and I
Yeah,
just
it's
disagree with that sentiment.
yeah, 100%. I think that it will I think that like just generally speaking, it's hard to get a job when you think of it as like the job market.
Yes.
Like that's like my opinion is like if you're thinking about like finding your next job is like, oh man, the job market is terrible. I'm not gonna find a job. Like, yeah, you're not gonna find a job because you got the wrong mindset about it.
Yep. Yep.
Your mindset should be like, where do I want to work? And like what do I have to do to get that job?
Yep.
And if you can't
Yep.
answer like where you want to work, then like that's where you need to start.
Yes.
And I think AI is great for like all of those things. You know, like
Yep.
we were talking about like how you're the person who's hiring wants to know like, well, how did you make these decisions? Like, how do you think through like how to solve the problem? And like AI does help you with that, but
Yep.
like instead of telling AI to solve the problem, tell AI how they thought through solving the problem and study
Ah,
that. Like shortcut like the process, like the mental process. Like have AI help you. Like, and the good thing about it is like if you don't know like what type of development you want to get into, guess what is really good from getting to from like 0 to 1 on like pretty much every language and every like type of development out there, like
yep.
AI. So like
Yep.
leverage AI to be like, well, like what does it look like day to day to do this type of job? Like what
Yep.
type of software am I writing? What type of problems am I solving? Like what are the common architectures for this? Like get all of those kind of more like gray area questions out of the way, because
Yep.
it's like you said, like it's not just about like whether you can write a for loop. It's like when is the for loop the right time,
Yeah,
like
I
the
don't know
right
what that is,
solution,
but
you know,
yeah,
like that
yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah.
So
No, yeah. And there's so Colin's a former repeat guest of the show, engineering leader, engineering manager. It's arguably more important to be able to communicate what code is being written than actually writing code.
exactly,
So
exactly.
again, coming from somebody who is actively hiring people, let me ask you this: if you were to go based off the current where everything is now with vibe coding and AI and blah 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 blah, how would you approach the job search if you were coming out from the industrial side now? Is there anything that you would change, anything you would do a little differently?
Um, I think I don't think I would change much.
Really?
Just because I would change the tools in which I use to do it,
Talk about that. Talk about that.
but I would not change how I approach job searching. So
Yeah.
I'll explain kind of at a high level, like the way I think about like finding
Yeah.
a job, and
Please.
then I'll explain like how it's different for me
Yep.
today. So the way that I think about finding a job, like I mentioned earlier, is like I decide where I want to work because it's my career, it's my
Yep.
future, it's
Yes.
like what I'm doing every day. So like
Yep.
I'm not just gonna say, please give me a job and shoot like my shot
Yeah.
everywhere at once,
Yeah.
like 1,000 resumes kind of thing. Um, I'm going to find, and it doesn't have to be just a single company either. Like your eggs shouldn't necessarily always be in a single basket,
Sure.
but like you need to like do the work of like identifying places that you want to work and understand that company. Like
Yep.
what type of work do they do? What type of like what would the day to day probably be like? Maybe you have a way to talk to somebody there, but like I didn't in my past. Um, but like understand that company, understand like what they care about, what they believe in, like the type of person that they want to hire, and then like build build a resume or a website or something that tells them not I'm a good engineer, but tells them I'm the engineer for you.
Mm.
Like I
Mm.
am who you're looking for, because like they're not looking for like words. They're not just looking for like the best developer out in the market. They're looking for like someone, a trusted developer, like someone that
Yes.
they trust, because like hiring is expensive, both like emotionally and also like from like a time and money perspective for a business. And you don't want to like, you're making a bet, like a risk that like if I hire this person, I'm not going to have to hire for the same role again in a few months because it didn't work out.
Right.
So
Right.
it's like, how can you remove as much doubt as possible when
Yep.
they are looking at you as a candidate? And the way that I do that is by like understanding the company, building something that speaks to that company, that tells them like I understand you. Like I understand what you are looking for and like what you need out of the job. I like, and that's what I do. Like that's
Yeah.
how I approach the job search. And
So I want to highlight something that you said, which is, I mean, again, you've said so many nuggets. The one thing one of the many things I want to highlight is one is like pick your shot and be intentional. That's what Lawrence Lockhart said
right,
last week
right,
on my show, where he was like, he submitted 47 apps in 89 days. And he was like, I wanted to work for, I think he said like the best of class of whatever industry it is, right?
right.
And so he was very specific there. The next thing that you just said that I want to highlight too is build something with the product. which I think nobody talks about a lot.
Right.
Can you talk about why that's so important?
Yeah. So the I mean, I guess it depends on like the size of the company
Sure.
a lot, because like it's a lot different the type of work that you will be doing if you're going for like somebody like a company like Google that has like thousands and thousands of engineers, where like maybe your day job isn't actually like using a Google product per se, like maybe it's a
Yeah.
little more like nebulous. But for majority of companies that are hiring, they are like, you are more valuable if you understand how their product works.
Yes.
So like
Yes.
the way I talk about this is like, I'm a design engineer. I do design and engineering. I am like cross-functional, which means like I can communicate the importance of design from an engineer's perspective, and I can communicate the importance of engineering from a designer's perspective. I also like invest a lot of time in like understanding like the business of the
Mm-hmm.
company.
Mm-hmm.
And like the reason you do all that is so that you can make the best possible decisions to bring success to the company. So the
Yep.
reason why you might would want to build something with the product is like you are showing to them that like I understand what like I'm not here because like engineering is what makes the company successful. Like the product is what makes the company successful, and I understand how the product's used. And
Mm.
like if you can communicate that like, oh, like I'm an engineer, but I also like understand you and your business. That's just like one more like feather in the hat of like trust.
Yep.
Like trust me
Yep.
more because I cared enough to like understand you.
Yep.
And it's about they talk about like networking as like, schmoozing people and all this kind of stuff, but like really like networking should just be like building relationships. And like so
Yep.
it's like, how would you build a relationship with like a girl or like a significant other that you're like trying to like date? It's like,
Right.
show them that you care about their interests,
Yes. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
do things that they like. It's not
Yes.
just like, you don't just go up to a girl and be like, yeah, I bitch like 250 and like I've got a really good job. Like you're not just sitting there like listing off like how good you are.
Right.
It's like, show them that you care about them, that you understand them,
Yep.
you know?
Let me ask you this, and kind of continuing on this kind of train of thought here. Would you, if you were to go back and do your job search again, I mean, do you learn vibe coding? Do you learn Lovable? Do you learn Bolt? Do you do that? Like what does that look like?
Okay. So that's an interesting question. I don't think you learn vibe coding from like, okay, you learn vibe coding. I think you learn anything, like
Sure. You can
anything that
learn
you're
whatever you want to
interested in,
learn. Yeah.
learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's never a bad thing to learn. Um, but you need to be able to answer if you're in the market for a new job, and like that's the reason you want to learn something, then like do it from the instance of like, how does this make me more valuable to a company? And if you don't have an answer for that, then like find something else to learn first,
Yep.
or like learn something in your free time. Like the way that something like Lovable for engineers, now like for me, I've got a lot of different opinions on that because I have like a big design background, so I've already got that skill set.
Sure.
But for an engineer who like only wants to ever be an engineer, like as far as their like hard skills go, then I think that like Lovable and things like that can be valuable because it shortcuts design. Like um you can like prototype an experience a lot faster because you can explain the underlying system usually a little better than your average person,
Sure.
and you can get like a much higher fidelity output. That could like, the way that fits into a business is like, hey, like I am an engineer, but like here's like how I leverage AI to be able to like quickly iterate and prototype like potential ideas to get them in the hands of customers faster and get actual like that's like explaining the business value of that skill.
Man,
Like,
it all comes back
you
to
know,
business value, doesn't it?
yeah, yeah. And 99% of the time, there is
Sure.
like the 1% of the time where it's like, oh, like this is like a purely academic role, but not like that's not most jobs. And like you'll know when that's the case. But like for everybody else, like for all the rest of us, yeah, it's all about like what's the value you bring to the business. You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
like this is capitalism. If you are not bringing value and money to the business, like jobs aren't charity, unfortunately, you know?
Yeah. So, any other tips? Anything that we haven't covered, because we're already at 10 minutes left, which is just time
Oh man.
flies. Anything else you want to highlight or that's popped in your brain since we've been chatting?
Yeah. Okay. So there's two things that I want to like that I would point out, and just in terms of like how like I would be using AI,
Yeah, please.
which is like I would use AI in two ways as a junior. One, I would use it to build more.
Okay.
Like
Just build.
words,
Just yeah.
right?
Just put
Like
stuff out.
nobody wants words. Like like if somebody's hiring, I don't want to read a giant wall of text. I
That's
want to
exactly what that
see
founder said 2 days ago.
I want
Yep.
to see like actual artifacts of like that you are doing. And like you can either go like very deep and build like a bunch of stuff at like varying levels of complexity in a very specific field. You can go broad so that you can like be able to show like, oh hey, like I can learn quickly and grasp things quickly and output things of like a varying like pick whichever way you want your career to
Sure.
go and do that. You know, that signals to hire like people hiring the type of person that you are. And then two is I saw this tweet. Let me see if I can grab the link and put it in chat for people. Which is it was by John. I can't put anything in chat, so we'll share it later. Follow me on X and I'll retweet it. By John Lindquist, and his tweet was, the best prompt will always be, give me 3 variations of X, then make an argument for the best one. Now, the reason why this is valuable for anyone is that it means like you can understand how the AI is thinking, so that like for experienced people like me, I can also identify like, oh, that actually makes sense. Like they made the right reasoning. Like that is the best choice. Or I can be like,
Sure.
they didn't have all the context. This other choices why it might be better for us.
Yep.
But for like juniors, it's like, oh, like I wouldn't even know how to tell you like how to think through that process in the first place. So it's like helping train you into how to, when being presented with any problem, never jump to like the first solution that you know. Like try to always think about different perspectives and different ways to solve a problem, because like depending on like factors, there's not always a best choice. There's
Sure.
just like the right choice for your context, and like
Sure.
AI can help you practice thinking through that.
So it sounds like, based off kind of the overarching theme of this, is really use AI. It's kind of like what you said, like as a mentor,
Yeah,
like
a
basically.
endlessly helpful, never gets tired of your questions mentor.
Yeah.
You know, like I think the fastest way to learn is to sit with somebody who's senior doing the type of job that you want to do and just like watch them work and ask them questions. But like we're remote now. Like 99% of us are remote at this point,
Yep.
and we don't
Yep.
I never have had that experience.
Yep.
So like leverage any tooling that you can to get that experience.
Are you guys, let me ask you this again, as we slowly wrap up here, and if you guys have any questions in the chat, please ask them. Like, are you guys, where you're currently working, like, are you guys using AI? How are you guys, like, have you guys implemented anything?
Man, let me while we're waiting, I can tell you something that I did recently. So like I really like games.
Okay.
And so recently I've been making an effort to like learn how to like develop games and stuff.
Okay.
And like AI has been super like, because I've never done that before. So like one of the valuable things is like learning a new domain. Like I don't know the words to like look up
Sure.
the information,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
like AI solves what I call the cold start problem, which is like
I
I
love
don't
that.
have
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I don't know what the right words are to solve this, but like AI can help me with the language that I do have to like get the next layer down, and like, oh, now I know more of the language of this domain. Now I can ask even better questions and get even deeper and deeper.
Yep. I love that. And then right now, currently, but in like in your role right now, are you guys using AI at all?
Oh, I thought you were asking chat.
Oh, no,
You
no,
were
sorry,
asking me.
sorry,
Oh.
sorry. Yeah, I sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
well.
no, sorry, you specifically within your day-to-day
Okay.
with
Yeah.
your
Yeah. So yeah, I use it. So like we're a database, and like the one thing you don't ever want is like a non-deterministic system touching your database because like who knows
Sure.
what will happen. So like we
Sure.
do not use it
Okay.
in our actual like software as like a
Okay.
tool as part of our software.
Yep.
But I know I personally use it a lot, especially for like what we call paper cuts at our
Okay.
company. So there's like a whole host of problems when you build software of a certain age and scale where there become so many corners of your product that can like have a rough experience
Sure.
where it's like it doesn't break the experience for people, but like you slowly lose trust over a longer period of time because they're like the app feels buggy a little bit
Yeah, that makes
in
sense.
like little areas. And we have an incredible customer service team who like identifies these and puts them in this like big list. And like normally it's like, okay, when you can find time to bust through a couple of these in between like the big projects that actually push the business forward,
Sure.
do those. And like the number of those type of things that I can just bust a move on because
Interesting.
it's like
Okay.
the code base is like purposefully structured.
Sure.
There's an architecture to it.
Yep.
And so like when you have these little paper cuts, it's very easy to not vibe code, but to say like, hey, in these files, there is this issue. Can you identify that issue? And so like,
I like that. Yeah,
suggest the
yeah.
solution for it. And you can like, I could have identified that really quickly myself if I'd like, but not as fast as like a computer can. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it can identify those, it can suggest like the solution for it. And if I like the solution after I've evaluated it, then I can just let them implement it in
Yep.
Cursor or whatever.
Yep.
Or if it's like, okay, you identified the right problem, but like you didn't quite understand the details of like how we do engineering here. So like I will write the code myself to
Yep.
be like better.
Yep.
But that like we move so much quicker on like paper cut type stuff. So it's like
Okay. That's
we
interesting.
can
I
keep
like that.
our product's quality really high on
Okay.
these like very low impact. We've already like coded this system. There's just like a rough edge, fix it
I
kind
like
of
that.
thing.
I like that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Sweet, man. All right. So if yeah, sorry about that
LOL.
mix up. You got quiet for a second. I was like, did I lose him?
No, you see, you said like y'all put your questions in the chat, and I was just like, oh, so he's talking to them now. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I love it. I love it. All right. So as we wrap up here, kind of a few rapid fire kind of fun questions. First off, I always ask people, are you a coffee or tea guy?
Coffee. I've got, let me just show
Hot
you.
or iced? Hotter. Oh my gosh. So are you
Coffee,
hot
yeah,
or are
too.
you iced?
Me and
guy?
Allie got matching. We iced for me.
Thank
Allie
you.
thinks it's an
Thank you.
abomination, so she's always
No,
hot coffee.
iced is the true taste of coffee, in my opinion.
So good. So good. I already drank mine. I'm gonna have to. This might be a 2-cup day though.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. That's awesome. Next question. When it comes to kind of giving some people in the community a shout out, I always like to give props to folks. Is there anybody who's doing really cool stuff that you follow that you want to give a shout to? Anybody in the community who's doing cool stuff that you've just been following on X, maybe that you've enjoyed what they've been putting out?
100%. All right. So there's this account on Twitter. It's called, his handle is @measure_plan.
Okay.
And he has been doing this stuff where it is like, it's using Three.js and a like, I guess it's like machine learning type thing where it like does video for your hands and can track your hand movement. And he does all these experiments of how he can use his hand to manipulate 3D models on screen.
Whoa.
And like the videos are in like a VR perspective, like that's overlaid on top of him, so you can see him manipulating his hands and what's getting like manipulated on the screen.
Sure.
And they're just so cool. They're so
That's
cool.
awesome. And then what was the handle of that again?
Measure_plan.
I like that.
So that as far as like doing really cool stuff, he's doing like super cool stuff. And then another shout out for somebody, if y'all don't know Emmett Naughton, Emmett is just like the biggest hype boy like of all time. Like he is like so supportive. I had my first talk on Monday, and like I'm pretty sure it was like when I woke up that morning, I had a DM that was like, dude, like you're gonna crush it today, like good luck.
Love that.
I'm like, man, Emmett is like, if you need to just have quality people in your corner,
yes,
Emmett's on like the top of that list for me.
Yep, I agree with that. Go connect with Emmett. He is absolutely wonderful. Next question. Is there anything that you're tinkering with internally, even just on your, you talk about game development, but is there anything else you're tinkering with, any frameworks, anything that's kind of fun right now?
Okay, so I'm gonna give a talk about this in July, but
Nice.
Laravel, Laravel
I
and
keep hearing about it.
Laravel and React. And there's a reason I think that it's really good, is because Laravel's been around for decades at this point.
Yeah, I used to recruit a lot of Laravel back in like 2012.
And it's also been like actively worked on and improved a ton. So it's like, one, it's a really good framework. Two, it's been around for a very long time, which means AI is extremely good at like knowing best practices. Like they've had like the community as itself is like has very strong opinions on like the right way to do things.
Yep.
So like AI, it doesn't get confused about how to do things because it just like it's just a really good framework for like having AI help you understand how to build more and build better.
Yeah.
So I've really enjoyed using it. I'm a big React fan. They've got other solutions and stuff, but I like React. But they have this tool called Inertia, which lets you like you don't have to write APIs for everything. It just works. Like your controllers are connected to your front end, and like it just passes the data straight.
I don't know what that means. That sounds cool.
Right. It just makes it great. It makes it super easy.
And that's in Laravel.
Right. It's in Laravel.
Okay.
It just makes it super easy to like use your backend data in your front end without having to do all the in-between stuff to like make it work. So it's great. Love that combination with AI. And then like the number 3 reason is like the people in Laravel, the community
they're great.
are just some of the best, most positive people that there are. So it's just like you can't lose.
Yeah, they hired a good crew for sure. All right, last questions we wrap up here. And again, thanks for everybody who tuned in. A lot of comments. Please go connect with Will. So the show's called Guidance Counselor 2.0 because we had guidance counselors in middle school, high school, and college, but not necessarily as adults. We don't really necessarily have a guidance counselor to turn to.
Yeah.
What would be your biggest piece of career advice if you can go back and tell young Will something like young Will, cherry picker, industrial Will?
Biggest career advice. I would say just like say hey to people sooner.
Isn't that wild?
My biggest career advice for myself. Cause like I already had like the gene to like want to build and put stuff out there, but like, which is like a really important one, like be public. Like if you're doing work, share it with other people. Somebody's going to find it interesting and you'll connect with him. But 2, like the biggest thing for me, even though I was doing all that, was just to like, if you think somebody's cool, just tell them, hey, you're cool. You know, like build relationships, like say hey to people, like comment on people's things, like let them know that you're interested, ask questions, all that kind of like the sooner you start interacting with people, like you're just building like friendship and relationships. And like at the end of the day, that's like for me personally, that's like what makes
I think it's everything
so fun is like just that.
Yeah. I mean, I you know, the more I get into this and we're talking about AI and blah, 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 like at the end of the day, man, it's who you know. Like it's who you know.
Yeah.
So double down on
that. Just a final quote from a good buddy of ours, Aaron Francis. He says that like if you want people to take note of you, to notice you, then do something noteworthy, which is the thing. Like, yes, build relationships, get to know people, but like the way that you get to know people is like the people that you want to be friends with who are doing interesting things, like make sure that you're being that type of interesting person too.
Yep.
Because like they're also like wanting to make friends with other people who are like interesting in that kind of thing. So it's like identify the things you like about other people and like make sure you're looking at yourself too to try and like
I love that,
have those qualities.
I love that. Sweet. All right, y'all. Well, thanks again for tuning in today. Last one of the week. Yes, Roxy, you can just do things.
Aaron
Francis,
things.
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott is what I always say. But y'all have a good one. Thanks again for tuning in. Will, stay on so I can say bye to you backstage. But we will we'll see y'all next week. Peace.